Let's go back to Word. So we're going to do model in a database. I thought we'd start with like a DVD. Let's make a little database to keep track of DVDs. This is similar to what you've done before. I'm counting on you having done DVDs and Blu-rays enough to have some idea of what kinds of fields would be on them. Now fields, there was some confusion when I had to decide what fields are. They're basically every little piece of data that you need in it, but sort of the headings on it. What are the pieces of data that you could find on like a DVD cover and things? What are some of the things? Yeah.
Name.
So the name or title, right? What other things? Yeah. Director. Okay. So I'm gonna. I saw another hand. Yeah. Timeline. What? Oh, the length. The date. So probably the release year. That's another hand. Yeah. Yeah, the genre. What other?
Number of discs.
It might have, yeah. Number of discs. Discs. I just want to get a good thing here, because this is where you probably start, is by coming up with all these different fields, and then we'll kind of group them.
It's also nice to have the actual year that it came out. Disney and all of their companies they own typically refuse to put the year of something was released, probably because if people saw that Bambi is copyright 1950 whatever, they'd be like, wait, what?
Well, or what is it, Sleeping Beauty, copyright 1939?
Yeah. they'll put the release here, like the DVD release,
yeah,
like 2012, but they won't put the, it's kind of irritating. It's nice to know.
Yeah. Studio. There might be a description that actually, there's a lot of time there's a blurb, right? Yeah.
What's studio means?
Studio is the who made it. So Disney, Warner Brothers, the studio that produced and made it. There's not very many of them. Pixar, which is owned by Disney. Few. Who else is there? New Cinema, which is also owned by Disney, isn't it? Sony. Yeah, Sony's not owned by Disney. They're one of the few not owned by Disney. What else might be on here? I'm just generating fields. It'd be easier if you had one right in front of you. They might have the writer.
Usually it's on there very small.
Yeah, it's usually you need a magnifying glass to see it. And it could be plural. We'll talk about that in a moment. What?
The language it's in.
Yeah. And they might also have language choices. A lot of them, you can run it in Spanish or you can run it in English. Usually it's French, Spanish, and English, and it doesn't generally go much beyond that, but sometimes. There's a few other things. I'll add one. Rating. Right? What is it rated? It'd be nice if I could get these all on the screen together, so I might break this into columns or something. What else? Anything else? Usually there's a list of extras, which could be like outtakes, the making of extended scenes. There's lots of extras, right? Different kinds of extras that can be on there. One of the ones that I like, my original copy of the Matrix had the script of the Matrix on there, and you could watch the script underneath the movie. It was kind of fun. All right, is there anything else that you can think of? That's probably enough. So if you were making these are things that you would want to store, right, in a database that's keeping track of DVDs. Is there anything else that you might want to track that wouldn't be on the DVD? I'm just asking. Don't want to get too elaborate. Yeah.
We have like a plot summary, and then also the country origin.
You might want, yeah. If I were doing it, I might want date purchased, which is different, and then like the price paid for it. You know, if it was my thing. Again, I can make all these databases. I've done these many times, but the data entry usually kills me after about 10. Yeah.
Did we mention copy number person rights?
The copyright? Is that what you mean? We could, I mean, that's on there. You might want to keep track of that. The copyright date is usually, I'm just trying to think. Isn't necessarily its original date. Because like Disney would be out of, Snow White would be out of copyright, I think, except that I'm sure they've recopyrighted it.
You know, you could just write a script to pull them down from Amazon.
You could. I'm not saying that this is a smart database to make. It's kind of like even for the Vince, you don't need to keep track of all the song titles and all of the artists on every CD because you could go up onto the web and pull that out really fast. Yeah. And then it's familiar enough that we can generate fields fairly easily. One of the things to think about when making a database is it worth making? Does it exist elsewhere better? Right? If it does, then you may not want to bother doing it. It's same with businesses. A lot of times you can go out and buy a database that's pre-made that will do the job fairly well. It's usually if you need unique kinds of data storage that you want to build the database. So like if you're a dentist office or something, there are databases that are pre-made to track that kind of information, and it's really difficult to make your own. So the only reason to make your own is if you're doing things significantly differently than what the pre-purchase software would do. And as expensive as the software could be, it's usually cheaper than making your own. Just as when you're doing an analysis of what to do, that's something you have to consider. All right, so we have all these fields. Let me see if I can. I actually don't remember how to do columns in Word anymore. Page layout. Columns. 3. That didn't split it out though.
You'll have to insert a column break. You want to drag all the way to the next column.
All right.
Otherwise, it'll go to the bottom of the page first.
So if I do like insert, where do I insert a column break? Blank page. If I don't want a page break.
It was in whatever menu you were in before.
Was it in the not design page layout columns? Oh, breaks. Aha. And then I can back that up a little. Oops, I didn't do it.
No, highlight everything.
All right. So undo what I just did.
Yeah. And then
Highlight everything.
highlight that one. And then do a break.
But that will just break it. Where did it break it? I think it just wiped out everything. All right. Tell you what, I'll just zoom down a little bit. We don't have a ton of things. Maybe I can do. Here's another thing I could probably do. Why isn't it letting me do that? It didn't work either. It's a little tighter, I suppose. All right. We have these fields. The first thing you want to do is probably kind of like we did with the form in that one assignment, is go through and figure out what all the fields are. What is it, all the stuff that you're going to store? This, as I said, can take weeks if it's a complicated database. And you have to, and again, if it's not your own database, if it's not something simple like DVDs, you would probably need to go out and talk to the people. In fact, you would have to talk to the people for whom the database is going to be made. You'd have to talk to the people that are going to use it. And this could come up, this list of fields could be hundreds of fields, right? Not just a dozen or so. So just to let you know that we're really abbreviating the scale here. Here's what I want to come up with next, though, and I don't know if it'll do it on the side. Let's go home. When I do a table, let me do real quick. Okay. Should be able to write around the table now. Okay. All right. Whatever. So we want to kind of group these. Are there, now where did my group go? It went inside it. All right, so we want some groups, which that wasn't anything like a group. When you look at these, they should fall into some kind of natural groups of things. One of the things that we're going to talk about as we build tables, because we're going to start with Visio in a few minutes here, is what what they call entity, and entities are another word for what will become tables. And every entity should be about one thing. So what kind of things do we have here? Big things. Things that would be a little bit different. Yeah.
I guess you could pull anything that describes the DVD into something, like genre, title.
So there's the DVD, right? And then the next step would be figure out the fields that would go with it. What other things? I mean, in a way, they're all describing the DVD, but within that, there's some certain kind of like subtopics.
Maybe separate the fields that describe the DVD itself and things that describe more about the film. So maybe this particular DVD has this release date and the subtitles available, but anything describing the film would have the same actor, the same title.
So I think that some of what you're saying is there are actors. Features might be another topic. Here's another thing that's a general rule about groups. And it's basically, and when you're doing this, every entity should be about one thing. And the first level of normalization, which we're going to talk about later, but the first level I think we need right away, is that you don't want any groups that are multiple valued. And if it's a multi-valued thing, it should be broken off into its own table. What that means is in a table, you know, when you have a column name, each row should have a single, it doesn't have to be one word, but a single value in it. You don't want lists of values, right? So you don't want to, like actors. You don't want a field named actors and then list the actors separated by commas. That's not good. And the reason that that's not good is that you cannot search that effectively. You would have to do string parsing to figure out what actors are where. It doesn't, every field should have one piece of data, one actor's name or whatever. Another rule is that you shouldn't do repeat fields. So you shouldn't, like in the DVD, you should not have something like actor 1, actor 2, actor 3, actor 4. Anybody see why you wouldn't want to do that? So let's say you set up 5 actors. What if you want to record 6 actors? You can't just add a field once you've got the database. So that means you don't have any place to put it if you have 6 actors. What if you only have 2 actors you want to list? Got 3 empty fields. What if you want to search for an actor? You don't know which field they're in. You have to search 5 fields to find one actor. It's just not a good way to do things. And it's another way, like listing them with commas. It just makes searching and recovery of the data really difficult. So those are both no-nos. So the DVD, everything that describes the DVD itself would be one group. Actors would probably be another group because there are multiple actors on almost every DVD, right? We're assuming these are all movies, I guess, because there are other kinds of DVDs. Movies and TV. What other kinds of things are, I separated out features too, because every DVD has multiple features.
Company?
Maybe. Now, so is the company, the studio can sometimes be plural, right? So it could be Disney Pixar. It could be, what are some of the other? There's often a parent company or a child company or an independent company that is being distributed by a larger studio. So studio could be, studio or company could be another table. What? Maybe, although actually, so you could separate that out. Actually, if you were normalizing it well, which we'll talk about normalization later, probably you would break out that. Writer, there's often multiple writers. Anything that could be multiple. I'm just looking at the list. The other thing that might be multiple is genre. You do get things like a sci-fi mystery or horror fantasy, or so you do sometimes get cross genres or multiple genres. So if we do that, that means we're going to have different tables for all those things. Those are the groups. That's actually more sophisticated than I would expect you to be at this point. I mean, far more in terms of dividing it up. That takes a little bit of analysis, and it takes a little bit of instinct, practice to figure out where to break things up. But this is pretty good. So under the DVD, if we were to do that, we could have things like the name for sure, or title. Do you prefer name or title? Okay. I'm just going to do commas here. The length for sure. These are things that just describe the DVD, the release year. These are things that have a single value. When we're breaking up, I'm going to do origin year, possibly purchase year. I don't know if you want all of that. You might not care what year you purchased it. Number of discs you could probably put. What else? Looking at the list down below. Probably plot summary, rating.
Rating, yes. Plot summary, no. Plot summary would be like a free field.
But it could be free on this. I mean, you can have blocks of text. Unless you wanted lots of, I won't say that there's no reason why you might not eventually want to split it off, but I think that it actually could go on there. You can have fields, we'll talk about that when we start building them, but you can have fields that are basically just blocks of text. Anybody else? So rating, which I hadn't written yet. Probably price and copyright. Description. Now, I'm not sure what description is different than plot summary.
Might be able to
What?
group one of those into itself and just make a plot summary / description field.
Yeah, I wouldn't do a / description,
Right,
but you could just do just.
one or the other.
Yeah, I think one or the other would be fine. Let's put it under description. That's the thing you usually see on there.
Actually, I think the number of the discs, it could be on actor instead of DVD.
Well, actually, I'm going to show you how to relate actors and discs, and in a moment. I mean, because you're right that one actor could be on many movies, but the number of discs is like how many discs are in the box. Price and copyright. I'm not sure if you need copyright, but you might want it. Luckily, we're not going to fill this out. Now, under actors, what would you want? And this is purely up to you. I mean, if you were building this database. So if you're doing Internet IMDb, then they do a lot on an actor. Yeah. They have the biography. They have their entire movie history, you know. And from what I understand, that originally started as sort of a wiki, and then they took it over once they had enough data in it. But what would you want if you were doing your own database? Probably their name, right? The actor's name. I cannot hit this thing. Would we want anything else?
Birthday maybe?
Maybe if you have their birthday or you might want to know how
You're looking for, I can do that.
you might want gender. You might want, so
Maybe like a genre, just, a lot of actors like action stars. don't know.
I think I would mix. I'll show you how to mix them in with genre if you want. I don't think I'd put it in here though, because they could be multiple genres. I mean, actors do more than one thing. You had something?
Brand.
Actually a list of, how many Grammys they won, something.
Awards.
Yeah, or awards.
Grammys are for music stars.
Yes, you're right. Although some actors do win
Just
them.
group awards.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We
Awards.
don't try to figure out multiple things.
I know some actors who have won Grammys.
Cross genre, yeah.
Yeah.
The other names that actors don't buy previously.
That actually, I'm not sure if we want to put that in here, but maybe let's for right now.
Also known as would be a useful thing.
Alias. or their real name. You know, a lot of actors are not going by their real name. Yeah.
It's not a real
Well, I'm not sure.
Titles, maybe?
But it wouldn't be titles. It's just
Well, I mean, movies are different.
well, that'll not in this. I'll show you how to hook that up.
That would be like a relationship.
Yeah. What a lot of these are about one thing, and then we'll do relationships. So there will be a relationship between actors and DVDs. So you can see with a query, you could see which actors have been on which DVDs, and which DVDs have which actors. You know, it's doable. It may take us a while to get there because it's right now I'm just trying to group these out. Features might just be a lookup list for right now, which would be feature name or type, right? I'm just going to say feature type, and maybe a description if you want it. So, you know, some things you have a 3D mode and you have a regular mode, and almost everything these days comes with if you do have Blu-rays like I do, you have a Blu-ray, a DVD, and a digital download. Yeah, so the studio, you'd probably just, what do you want to know about the studios? I'm not going to make it huge. So the name of the studio. Would you care about anything else? So it'd be basic, what?
Location.
Maybe. How many, I guess the big difference would be most are located in LA, some in New York. Actually, are there any located in Vancouver? A lot film in Vancouver.
There's, it's kind of like there are hub branches.
Yeah,
It's not like the giant lots like you see in Hollywood, but it's
I know Sci-Fi Channel films in Vancouver a lot.
close to Supernatural's film.
Yeah. Stargate was filmed in Vancouver. I think Amanda Tappan still lives there. Not that that matters. Languages would probably just be a list of languages. I'm just going to say the name of the language. The writers, you probably just want their names. You might want more about them. I don't know. Anything besides that for the writers? Yeah. And then the genre is probably just a lookup of genres. Maybe name. I don't know if you'd want a description, but you might.
I think with this one, I guess
It depends. I mean,
I
this.
don't know how informative you want it to be. If
Yeah.
someone doesn't really know what a genre means or something.
Well, and it depends on how you divide up your genres. They can be really broad, or they can get really specific. Steampunk, sci-fi. I mean, you could get down to it's. Have you ever seen how people divide up musical genres? They get bizarre.
They
Yeah.
make up
So each of these are going to be a table.
Yeah. So let me go through and kind of bold. The DVD would be a table. At this point, these are just potential. And the other thing I want to tell you is that we're going to end up with more tables than this, which may seem bizarre, but we will. Because one of the things that we'll discover as we start this is we're going to need linking tables. We're going to need a table that links the DVD to the actors. And we'll need a table that links the DVD to the features and links it to the studio, and etc. So it gets complicated. One of the drawbacks of the relational database, I think I mentioned it on day one, is that they are inherently complicated. And it is really easy to make a terrible one. So, and it can be fairly hard to make a good one. But once it's good, they are really, really effective. All right, so we did this. There's one other thing I want to talk about before we actually go to Visio and talk about the diagramming. And that is, at this point, what they would be are candidate keys. Anybody have an idea what a candidate key would be?
Primary key.
So you want a key. A key field is basically something that would be unique that could identify, because if we're going to relate these tables, we need things that would tie things together. So we need something that could serve as a unique key in each of these that would bind, that you could use to join the tables. Couple of things I want to say. So a candidate key is, all it means is that it is something you might consider as a key. A candidate key isn't a key yet, it's just something you're thinking that would work. I want to talk about, there's really three kinds of keys here too. Two kinds, and one's a variation. There are, surrogate have two. Our surrogate, I think it's only, yeah, it's got two. Yeah. There's, that doesn't look right. It is surrogate, yeah. That looks better. Anybody have an idea what a surrogate key is? I'm not expecting you to, I'm just asking. So a surrogate key is where you go through and you just number things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, whatever. Auto or random numbers for keys. And that makes making keys a lot easier. And there's a lot of, if you look online and you look up surrogate versus the other kind of key, which is natural, you'll find that there's a lot of strong arguments for surrogate keys. And actually, in the book, if you look at it, I did mostly natural keys, but over the years, I've pretty well bought it into the surrogate key argument. The advantages of doing surrogate keys are that you can guarantee uniqueness. You just number like your DVDs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You just number them. Don't have to worry about the numbers. You just relate it. It has some disadvantages. One is that when you get the linking tables, they're just numbers. It's really not humanly readable. Doesn't matter. The computer can figure it out just fine, but your key isn't readable. That has some advantages, though. If you use a natural key is something that actually occurs in the fields. A natural key is basically is trying to think of a better word than natural, a natural field in the table. Like you could use title. That's a potential primary key. It has some flaws and probably won't work. Anybody know why it would be flawed? Yeah, there might be remakes of the same movie. There actually have been different movies with the same name. So
not even related.
Yeah. So it has to be unique, and it's really hard in a natural key to find something that's unique. DVDs usually, but do not always, have ISBNs, right? So an ISBN is basically a key that somebody else made for it. What I have found when I've looked at DVDs is that almost every movie released by a studio has an ISBN, but not all documentaries, and not all. There are DVDs that don't have ISBNs. So an ISBN would work, except that it isn't applied to every movie. So one of the things to decide when you're looking at this is whether you want to use a natural or a surrogate key. So the natural key has a disadvantage. It has the advantage that it tends to be readable, and it tends to be related to the business. That can be a dual thing. If your business needs change, your key may become irrelevant, but you can't get rid of it because you're using it as a key. The other thing that a natural key, it's really hard to guarantee that it'll be unique. Although there are some built-in natural keys that work really well, like a student ID number is sort of, I mean, you're given that. It's a pre-built key for another database. Social security number, although it's illegal to use that. as a key. I tend to go with surrogate. I just tend to auto number them. The time that surrogates will get you into trouble, and it's a fairly advanced situation, is if you're merging databases. And this does happen in real life where you have one, yeah, they have the same keys, and the relationships are based on those keys, and it's a real pain to merge databases with the surrogate keys. It's a major undertaking. Yeah, did call you. I thought I saw. Questions on any of that? So a couple more statements, and then I want to introduce Visio. I might give you a quick break too before we do that. This is a process that I would go through. Again, it may take a lot longer. But when you look at all the information that you've gathered, and this is a part that we really didn't do much of, but you've gone out, you've looked at all the forms, you've talked to all the people, you have all these notes. What you want to do is you want to go through and list out all of the, basically all of the nouns that you find, right? All of the words, all the field names, all the nouns that you find, and all of that description, just list them out. And then the next step is kind of what we did, which is to try to group them into what will be, as I said, entities or tables. And so when you group them, part of what you need to keep in track of is that everything should be about one thing, and there should be no multi-value groups. If you keep track of that, you should come up with a fairly good list of tables. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? There's going to be lots of time for adjustment and changes and reconsiderations. But that's sort of the process. Does that make sense? All right, so the next thing that we're going to work on is Visio, and because we're going to actually start diagramming this. And I need to probably explain that. If you want, let's launch Visio, and then you can take like a break. So Visio, there are other programs you could use, first of all. Visio does not come with Office, but it's considered a part of Office. You have to download it and purchase it separately. It is about $800, but you can get it free from DreamSpark. You can also, there are open source things that you can do. And actually, unless except for class or if I need to show it to somebody, I usually do them up by hand on paper. That's the easiest way to do. But we're going to use Visio to do the entity relation diagrams. So I'm going to just open up Visio. And do I have to,
Yes.
but do I have to type in my email?
I don't know, I tried to log into my
Did you?
MS account, and because I don't have this linked to my account, it wouldn't let me access any features. You just click the X on the top of the
Just do which?
I'll try to register this.
I wonder though if it will allow, notice how all these are
Yeah,
grayed out.
so you can just look at it again.
Which
is kind of no.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Wait and look at it.
I wish, so why,
It's whoever put it all on the network.
Yes.
Put it underneath something.
Under the next button. Someone probably has that.
let me see. While we take a break, I will go see if I can get a product key.
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't activate it. They
So let's take a 10-minute break.
Those because this is a student course. The other course is
Here, I'm just saying.
Does someone told someone say, hey, cut Visio on the whole network, but they basically, someone said, hey, cut Visio on the network. Okay.
I looked at it last
Did
night.
you activate it? No.
So you used to do laptop robots for like pharmaceuticals. You're supposed to install it like so when they open it runs, everything's activated and snaps.
Yeah, no passwords.
We didn't even have users.
No, you just push buttons. Play it on the computer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, I think it's, yes. Okay. I see.
Just right over there.
Yeah. You the one for your.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Sure, just a second. I'm trying to get a key. So, Visio. I just need to know what Visio 2013. So give me just a minute. I'll be right back.
Three, like, user for each machine. Wow, I was like, I'll think about that. Fortunately, that was not required.
So I can talk now.
I mean, like, does he want us to make a diagnosis?
Yeah.
It was like a special photo review again.
So most of this, so kind of keep going forward.
No, that's what I was like. Yeah.
Probably like one of the first. Yeah.
Is that visible? I could try to make it bigger.
What's the closest like open source thing would be?
You know, I'm not sure. There's a thing in Google Docs has, but I think it's like free for 60 days and then they charge for it.
Yeah.
There are some open source tools. So what you would want to look for is like ERD, entity relation diagrams,
Oh, okay.
and see what the open source
Okay.
tools are. I will look again too.
I have Linux and I have like Libra Draw or whatever on there that does a lot of stuff, but I don't know if it was exactly. So ERD is what we're doing.
EID, entity relation diagram.
Okay.
So Steve, we should all be able to use this product too.
You should be able to, yes. I'm going to make it bigger temporarily. Is that big enough to see for everybody? Now, this product key is a classroom product key. So it should work. Yeah. Is it going to ask everybody to do this a little bit?
Hey Steve, it's also asking for a password. Do you want to just give it your?
I'll have to. What? So I mean, words into that. Now it's quite possible. Should need a password right under. So copy the.
The next thing is.
I need another username.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come around to everybody and log in. I don't think I want to give out my password right now. Although, well, I could change it. But. All right, so I'm gonna start. Yes. The username, if you want to type in, is sconver.
I just
You
clicked.
have to seal it. If you don't, that's it.
I think I just like looking over it, so I think everything.
Yeah.
Oh.
You bitch.
Yeah, we're gonna work on, he's having trouble, we're gonna actually just dive into the database right now.
Slower.
I'll send you the links. We're working on.
So what's it consumer?
Yeah.
Oh, we're not doing that. Oh, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I can share that.
No, it's, that's something when you have to like,
Okay, so I got.
No, I use that.
Yeah. It's asking to reboot now.
You can, it'll be a little bit. Because you'll have to drop her hand. Right?
No.
Does it happen? I'll show you. Let's see. If you want to use this. Did it ask you to? So you did you enter your own? Well, see if it.
It was skinner than other ones. And then the password is also like the other one.
So once everybody's in. Now, some of them configured. I don't know if mine will configure once I say this or not. This is the key. It's a pain to type in. I could, actually,
But you had to have the end.
you do have to type it in, but actually, I'm not sure. I could paste it and put it in an announcement. Probably that would have been easy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, bring it back. Oh, sorry.
Thanks, man.
All right, so let me paste this into, I'll let you, if you're typing it, I want to, oh, don't do this one, it should be your password.
Oh, no, but see, now it's saying, so I don't know why it let me in the first time.
All right, let's do P password, P at SSW 0 So it's not gonna, I didn't change that. But you went on your own password.
And then I didn't pass it, and then I changed it up to.
There's that. I could kind of. Yeah. I'll fix it. All right, so I'm gonna post this as an announcement. I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes. I'm actually gonna shut off. Actually, so in the video on this, we're gonna have a lot of weird dead space in the middle. So that you may want to fast forward through. So I am going to go to, I was going to paste it into announcements so you could probably. Why isn't it there? All right. So I just want to get into Canvas real quick and then paste the thing there. And then I'm going to this instant am posting the Visio key. This shouldn't work at home, by the way, but you should. So let me, I'm curious. Is there a pause on the video? There's stop, but there's no pause that I can see. Oh, yeah.
If you leave it for too long, it says it's installing and then it restarts your rig.
Right, I think it needs my permission.
Yeah, because it keeps on installing and then saying it needs to restart.
Yeah.
We'll see if our future.
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
That's what I'm sorry about.
Oh, just like.
I'm gonna get you in, I haven't done it yet.
Oh, it's okay. I got it. I don't know why I just kept trying it at work. So
Oh,
I
okay,
just
good.
need your thing. Like,
All right.
but thank you.
Did you have to go back to password? Did you have to go back to password or did it?
Yeah, somehow it worked and then I leave.
I wonder if it wouldn't accept your last one because it was so current. Yeah, it must have been still up from before. When I was doing that. Yeah, I'm sorry for that.
No worries. Now you don't worry. It wasn't
Okay. Well, I thought it was. Yeah, you need a permission.
Yeah, I'm back.
Actually, I put that in here, come on again. Ask for it. So you need to type that.
You should go. So you don't necessarily want to download it to your machine.
But I have just more than.
The thing is when you download, so it only gives you one download. So if you can't get the file off of this machine, you might be in trouble. Fairly large.
It's only one.
Yes. One thing about DreamSpark, just to be careful of, generally it only lets you download it once. So be sure that you do it in the right place. And if you get the ISO or the install, save that file.
But I thought it's just nowadays subscription based, so like, it doesn't matter. Like as long as it matters, like,
Well, so generally it'll only let you download it once. If you have the key and the original file, you can usually you can do it like 2 or 3 times. But they do put some limits on how often you can get stuff. Yeah. As long as you're a registered student in IT. Once you're not a student, it's not available to you anymore. Now, there are ways to get them if you're not a student, which is the MSDN membership, but that costs like $1,200–1,500.
If you download them and then once you're not a student anymore, do they just?
No, they never die. That's a nice thing. They don't go away. They're not limited. What goes away is your ability to download them. The software itself is good. The only thing is you can't, like if there's a major upgrade or something, you probably won't be able to upgrade it. Right after a certain point, it'll do updates, but it won't do like a major upgrade to a new version. But yeah, it's not like, so like at Microsoft, you can get anything for free for like 60 days and then they die. These copies that we get never die. They'll last for years if you want them. So that's a nice thing. There's no time limit on them. The only time limit is the when you can download them. Right. So once you're no longer a student, you can no longer download. But other than that, it's yours. Yeah. All right. We're up and ready to go. Anybody else need a little bit of chaos? Normal.
So we don't want to reboot it then?
You shouldn't have to reboot.
Yeah.
We'll have another day of relative chaos when we download the virtual machines. It's always chaotic. I'm not sure why. Okay, so a couple of things about Visio in general. And again, there are other ways to do this. One way, I had a student and it was okay. Just drew it on paper and did a photo of it and uploaded it. Again, it's faster to do on paper, but Visio lets you do things that you could present to a client or an employer. It's essentially a diagramming program, and it's not specific to database. Do you have a? So there are lots of different diagrams this will do. It has basic diagrams, it has flow charts, it has organizational charts, it has network diagrams. Neat thing about the network diagram, and there's also some neat diagrams for web pages, is that if you tell it to, it'll go out and it will find all your nodes on your network and it will create the diagram. Same with the web page, it'll go and pursue your links and create a tree of all your pages, and it can tell the difference between your pages and external links. So it makes a pretty neat diagram with where you don't have to do it, it just goes and does it. We aren't going to do any of that though. We're going to do one that's called crow's foot database notation. And this is basically, it's an entity relational diagram. And entities are things, basically what an entity is, it's a table in the design phase. It's a table before you actually get into the software and design it as a table. It is a really good idea, whatever software you use, or even if you just use paper, to diagram your databases and analyze them before you ever sit down to make them. And the reason is, as I said, relational databases are complicated. And there's lots that can go wrong. And it can make your life it's a lot easier to do your fixes on paper before you get into the software than it is to fix afterwards. And it's especially hard to make your fixes if you've committed data to it. So it's a really good idea to plan. So I'm going to do a crow's foot diagram. And crow's foot is a real common one. There are, if you go online, you might see that there are other options because there are some different variations of this model, but this is a real standard one. So we're going to do that. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So what they give you is basically a piece of paper to draw on, a virtual piece of paper. If you want, there's all sorts of things you can do, like you can add grid to it if you want. You can do some various different things. Over here, you'll notice that there's a few, there aren't very many symbols that go with entity relation diagrams. There are basically entities. I'm going to change my view a little to something that displays a little better on screen. One? Which menu? So over here, as I said, we had the and basically DVD. I suppose it could be so you could call it a movie or something.
Well, yeah, how did you get it answered?
Double click. Yeah, there you go. A couple of things about this will probably getting you know